Hey everybody, it's Kim, and we're back with another episode of Empower. And today I'm going to talk about something that's could be a little touchy, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Today we're going to be talking about offense, not a fence as in like a gate boundary, but offense. And to start it off, I want to read the definition of it, and then we'll get into um, the whole thing. Well, part of what I want to say about it today. So, an offense is an annoyance or resentment brought about by a perceived insult to or disregard for oneself. Annoyance or resentment brought about by a perceived insult to or disregard for oneself. Now, I want to give um, this quote that I came up with a couple weeks ago after um, some interesting conversations that I've been having. Um, So I'm going to read it to you. Offense is not a shortcut to success. Stop wielding it like a sword to get what you want. So obviously, by that, I am not speaking about a legitimate um, offense, something that someone really did do some real harm to you and you feel a way about it. What I'm speaking about is even if it is a legitimate offense and you then use it as leverage to get something from that person or from someone else. And so the topic came up because there was a conversation with someone about um, needing to, uh, I guess, be vindicated or um, this person was talking about reimbursement for being offended. And it was not a an offense that could kind of be actionable. It was more like a perception kind of thing, which is why I read that definition because this person perceived or took it that the person who said this thing to them was trying to be offensive. And so often now in this culture, it is in this time in society, people are like, now that you offended me, I'm coming for you and you owe me everything. Now, in a certain sense, I can understand, okay, you you should apologize to me if I let you know that I'm offended, or you can tell that you offended me. The the polite thing to do, of course, the mannerable thing to do would be to apologize. However, we cannot go around trying to necessarily monetize or um, bully a person into rectifying this offense. Because the truth of the matter is, sometimes we're offended because we're called on our junk. Sometimes we're offended because we need to be offended, because we need to do better. And sometimes we're offended by people who we don't really value them or their place in our life. It could be a stranger, it could be whatever. And we've got to go out for blood. And now I'm gonna talk about your mama, and now I'm gonna do this, that, and the third because you offended me. Now I'm going to offend you because you offended me. That's not the right way to go about it. And it's disturbing to me how often um, how frequently I see this type of behavior. It's like, oh, you said something about me, so whether you know me or not, whether it's whatever, sometimes we have to let things just go. We can't make everything a thing. There was a thing I used to say some years ago, and we can't major in the minor. If it's not affecting my everyday, if it isn't about my immediate family, um, friends or whatever, people that I value, I'm not chasing this stuff down because 9 times out of 10, your opinion It isn't going to affect what I do or don't do. So the offense has to be, there has to be something about it that makes me say, okay, this has to be, this something needs to occur with this. Sometimes we just need to let things go. We can't assign and attribute our angst and our irritation about something else that happened that was similar and say, we didn't necessarily address it with that person in the past. And so the next time something even remotely similar to that happens, you gonna get it for the old and the new. Our energy can be better spent doing other things, especially if this happens and it's a person that is not in your day to day life, does not add any measurable value to you. Let it go. If it's not about your reputation or actual harm, a lot of times these things can just be dismissed as you don't even know me. So whatever you're saying, okay. We have to be careful not to use misplaced emotion in these types of situations. When someone says something to us or does something to us that's offensive, our knee jerk reaction shouldn't be, oh, I'm finna get you. No, our knee jerk reaction should be, okay, let's dial it back. Let me see how this affects me. If you just irritated me and you already irritate me, I'm not going to give it energy. And the problem with us giving these kinds of things energy, these things that are temporal, that come from people that we aren't in relationship with, that stuff, when we allow it to fester, it shows up in ugly ways. It shows up in us mistreating someone else. It shows up in us stewing in emotion, and then it becomes something else. It's like, okay, I was offended first. Now I'm resentful. Now I'm mad. Now I'm furious. Now you go get it. And so while I understand indignation and that sometimes there is a place for that, and that sometimes there's a place for addressing the offense, it's not always appropriate. It's most times we could just leave it alone and carry on with our day, because what we give attention to tends to grow. Even if it's like, might be a little inflammatory. Some keyboard warriors. Somebody, it's not even your situation. If you're on, a blog thing or a whatever gossip site, or even in some of these mommy groups, because some of these are treacherous. If you go down there and somebody says something and then you jump in and then they jump back, and then you're no longer talking about whatever the issue is. Y'all are talking about what somebody looks like and how they probably this, that, and the third. And then all of this stuff goes and happens. And we have to be mindful, especially those of us who say that we are followers of Jesus, of our reputation. I know we love to talk about, I don't care what nobody think about me. I don't care. Well, to an extent, I understand that. But to the extent that we are supposed to be an example by being a disciple, we got to care a little bit. And so, what's to say that us going off in the comments, or us clowning somebody, or us taking it a bit too far, or spending too much time on it, isn't going to mess up our witness? Who knows what may come around? Who knows if you'll see that person in real life? Who knows if what you're doing, say if you have an online presence, or if you are trying to start a business, or whatever you're doing, or if somebody knows that knows that person, and then you want to do whatever, and then they say, nah, she clowned me before he went off. So we have to be careful not to respond emotionally. We need to put some distance in between this thing. And if it deserves a confrontation, I'm not, please understand me, I'm not saying don't confront it, but there's a way, and there's a time, and there's a place. So I said all that to say, if you're offended, take the time, figure out why. If it's really true, if somebody says something disparaging about your character or about how they experience you. See, this is another thing. We may not intend to do whatever, be however, but if a person experiences us that way, we should take that into account. Not to say that, every time somebody is whatever, but we want an apology if we're offended. So what if what we did was offensive? So we have to be objective. We have to remove all of our emotion and feeling from it in that moment and kind of just say, okay, I'm going to sit with this. I'm not going to say nothing right now because I need to think it through. Um, so it's just observational things. Just pay attention to what your triggers are. And if you know that you're easily triggered, be really careful about that. Because if this is something that you're hypersensitive about, a person could just breathe about it and you could be offended. So be mindful that the offense is an actual offense and not just something that, touches a nerve and uh, you're dealing with or you're going through. Just be mindful. And it never hurts to take a couple of minutes and just think it through. It doesn't require a response right away because 9 times out of 10, when we respond that way, we say something that we rather, even if we want to say it and the person deserves to hear it, it's not always best for us to speak. We're emotional. So, just as a challenge to you today, be mindful of your triggers, be mindful of your interactions, do the work to manage your emotions in the moment. And then, by all means, if it deserves that, if it deserves your attention and you need to address it and let the person know, then do that because I'm here for that. Um, that's not the reason you should do it, but you should do it because that's even biblical. If there's something going on between us, we should address it. But there's a way to do it. So remember that everybody deserves grace in the heat of the moment, even you. And even if your motivation for not saying anything in the moment is, I don't want to have to apologize to you later, use that if that's what'll keep the situation from escalating. So, just a challenge. Just wanted to have a little chat about offense. Don't use it to try and get what you want, especially if it's barely related to if what you're going for isn't really directly related to the offense, but you just know this person may feel bad enough that they'll do X, Y, or Z. Don't do that. Remember, because what you put out is coming back. So let the consequence match the offense, if you get what I'm saying. So I just wanted to share that with y'all today. I hope it made you think a little bit. I hope you'll pay attention to your triggers. I hope you'll take the moment to think before you speak and then do it with some grace. Um, what you could also do with some grace is share this video. You could also follow Empower on Instagram at EmpowerHer540. Um, Empower on Facebook and on YouTube. I need some subscribers on my YouTube channel, guys. So go to YouTube and put in Empower, Empowher, and we'll pop up. And there's videos there for you to watch and comment. So thanks for your time, and I'll see y'all next time.